Welcome back to From Soul to Syllabus, day 2, baby. All right, let's dive right in. We've got stuff to work through today because day 2 is where it starts to click a little bit more. Day 1 was about identity and clarity. We covered what are the transformations we've been through? Who's our audience? What version of us went through that transformation? What was the bridge? We'll go deeper into the bridge in the process today. But what are the things I've been through? So I'm sure you continue to have epiphanies throughout the last day. Now, day 2, we're going to go into structure and power. Okay. And this is the moment you get to go from like, I have an idea, or this thing keeps bothering me, or this thing keeps happening to me, to, oh, this could actually be a real program. So, day two's theme is all about structuring your knowledge into modules and lessons. And this is what a lot of people want to get into. This is like the nitty gritty of it, this is the meat of it. So, we're just going to dive in because I know you want to hear this. And I don't want to keep you on here too long. These don't need to be 90 minutes. I think yesterday's was like 50 minutes. It was perfect. We'll see what we got today. And if anyone stays after, we will also run you through a quick Q&A where you can ask any questions you have about this. We can do some coaching work. We can do some workshopping with you, so that I know that you guys are leaving in the best form. Okay. So, welcome back to day 2 of From Soul to Syllabus. Yesterday, you identified what you're meant to teach. And for some of you, it was surprising. And I love hearing that. Also, I heard from a lot of you, you guys have so much to teach. Like, there's just so much. And that's what I'm here to help you do, is unclog that pipeline. We also went over who it's for, and it inadvertently, for some women, they know they're here to help the version of themselves they were X amount of years ago and X amount of versions of themselves ago. But that may have been new for someone hearing this, right? And it really opens up a can of worms, and it really is an emotional process to bring yourself through. So really take care of yourself in this process. I do deep work, and it's very exciting and fun, and I have big energy, but I also go really deep with people, right? So really take care of yourself in this journey. We talked about the transformation, the actual arc of the transformation. We're going to go deeper into that today. And then we also came up with the working title. And for anyone who didn't watch the Q&A, the Q&As are only available for the school right now. So if you want to watch the Q&As, join Daydream Business School. You can come in for as simple as $97 a month, and it gives you the entire school access and access to me on Fridays, live coaching you, hot seat Q&A, all of that. Those Q&As are in there. I wasn't gonna put those up in replay links, you know what I mean? But I got to work with a few of the women on here about working titles and how they needed something completely different than the few templates I gave you. So if you need to go deeper with that, keep either come into the school or keep watching. I'm going to help you with it. And what I talk about on Friday too, and the invitation I'll have for you will have, the ability for you to go deeper with all of these little things. If you at all think I'm going too fast for you, because I am, I deliver fast. We're working through this. This has got a challenge energy to it. It's like exciting. We've got a lot of energy in this call, right? But if you know you need time and you need to go deeper, on Friday, I'll be explaining another next step that you can do with me and the school. So today we're going to do something powerful. We are taking your lived experience and turning it into a pathway. Because here's the truth, people don't pay for information, they pay for guidance through a process. And a process needs structure. And when someone wants to pay for guidance through a process, it's because they know someone has been through that process. And the way they know someone has been through that process is that they are actively talking about it, or they're sharing something, or they're inviting someone into that process, right? So that will also talk about some of the marketing stuff. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. But knowing right away going into it, it's like we can't just make something and then not like either one, let people know that we're doing this, or two, talk about it, talk about the process, let people know. And this right here, the reason why I'm saying that, because you might be like, duh, Jayme, but that's your actual marketing. That's the actual selling. If you can show up, and maybe you're doing this online, maybe you're doing this on TikTok, maybe you're doing it privately with your massage clients, right? When they're done with you, or, in your email, maybe you're talking about an email, maybe you're making a sales page. Like, I'm not trying to figure out what that is for you right now. Again, we can talk about that tomorrow, but just knowing like, Are you willing to stand up and put your flag down and say, "Oh, I get this process. I know this process, like, I have been through it. I have been through the ringer on this. Believe me, I've created a system. This has helped me over the years. This has helped my clients over the years," right? Or maybe you're just completely starting. "Hey, I put together this process that I know is going to be helpful for so many people. Are there 3 people in my audience who would love for me to test this on this and be a case study in this?" Again, we'll talk marketing tomorrow, but my head already starts going with this. If we have a process, if we've created something, we have every right to talk about it. We have every right to say it. And again, that backs up the whole expertise. That backs up the whole becoming an expert in something. That backs up your worthiness, your value. Okay. So I'm going to weave this into the class the whole time. So, big idea here for today is that transformation is a journey. It is not a one step process. It is not an overnight process. Okay. Your course is not a content dump. We're not just going to dump a bunch of stuff for people to weed through. Okay. You're in charge of this process. You're the guide of the process. This is not each of these courses that you're making. And how many of you have so many to do after you watched yesterday's call? You're like, oh my God, I could do 5, 10, 15, 20 of these. Right. Right. So let's just unclog the pipeline with one. If that is you and you're being pulled in a million directions, you want to do this, you want to do this, you want to do this, choose one. This is what I teach in the idea incubator. We need to honor one idea at a time. We need to honor one project at a time, one course at a time. Okay. And we are going to just focus on that one because then when that one's done and you get it out into the world and share it or add it to your offer suite, whatever it is, then you can work on the next one and the next and the next. Finish to completion, like go to completion with a project. There's no point in having a half a dozen half-ass courses done. You'll drive yourself nuts. Okay. So this is not about dumping everything you know into this one course. Every journal entry you've ever written, every tool you've ever used. No, no. Your course is a curated journey from point A to B to Z. I just said Z. LOL. From A to B to C, right? And however long that ends up being, right? A to Z, I'm not saying there's 26 points to this. I'm just saying we're taking people step by step. We're going to break it down, break it down, break it down. If you're in the school, you know I have a call on that. We get so excited as women to like teach everything we know and get it all out. And it's like we'll pack shit in. I had to learn this the hard way so many times. I would literally make something, it would just fire hose people. And then I realized I could break it down to like a tenth of what I taught or led on, and that could be the thing. Oh, it took me years to learn that. Anyone else? So I teach break it down, break it down, break it down. What could you of this thing that you need to, right? How could we start to break down and really simplifying this process? So the simplest way to think about this is every transformation has stages. And I want you to think about your own journey. You didn't wake up one day transformed. You moved through phases. These are the phases most likely you went through. You can write these down. We'll talk about it a little bit more too, giving you a template for a process. But here's what most likely happened. There was an awareness phase. Then there was a learning phase. Then there was a practicing phase. Then there was an integrating phase, and then there was a becoming phase. I'll say just the words again. Awareness, learning, practicing, integrating, becoming. That's what we're mapping today. That is going to be the easiest way for you to plug and play this. Now, looking back to remember, to sort out, to suss out, to look through, like, you're gonna be, like, in the weeds, like, "What did I do first? What did happen? When did I do that? What year was that? What was her name?" You're gonna feel crazy doing this, but you got it, right? So we'll dive into exercise 1, the stages method. So I want you to open up a fresh sheet of notebook. If you're with Jayme Gray, you've got a notebook. You got something to take notes. Your computer, something. At the top, I want you to write, you can write, it depends on what you want. I know some of you have working titles, but we want to talk the transformation. You can write at the top, like, exploring my transformation. You could use the from blank to blank. Let me just let her in real quick. You can use whatever you want, but this is specifically about the transformation you went through, not what other people went through, okay? And this matters. I was actually doing this with one of my clients, and she's on the call today, so this is so perfect. We were doing this the other day. We were talking about each other, so I'll give some examples in a minute. Right? So figure out at the top you want to write, like, this is your transformation. Now ask yourself, the first thing is to say, what happened first? Like, when did you have your awakening? And it depends on what you're talking about, but what happened first? When you decided to go through the transformation, I'm not saying write out all the trauma that happened and, oh, that started when I was 3 years old back in 1988. Like, no. What happened first when you started to go through this transformational process? It's a different question. All right. This can be before the breakthrough, before the confidence, before the clarity. What came first? Like for me, this really set off because I could go from the Whole Foods parking lot story I gave you, but really my entire soul purpose journey kicked off for me when I went through my awakening in 2012. I was part of whatever band of light workers were being awakened at that year. We've had them every year since then. They started back in the 60s, and I'm not trying to go down like the history of awakening patterns, but they have absolutely gotten stronger, the waves have gotten stronger and have more people aligned with them, and it's like a bump in consciousness, right? The quickest way I can explain it is that all of a sudden a lot of people are like, "Boop," and you are vibrating and feeling at a different rate and level. Now, this isn't everyone's, I'm just talking about what happened to me because and it this all coincided with like a I was a party girl in New York City, and I almost died one night in New York City, and it was, like, within the same moment of me, like, almost dying and falling from a building. It's a long story. I'm gonna put it in another book. I'm gonna put it in my soul purpose book. I wasn't ready to put this whole story in Launch Your Light yet, but it's a good one because it really kicked off and it talks, it can hold the intensity for me that I went to like actual rock bottom for me to like shoot up into a spiritual consciousness awakening. Like my soul was available. It was ready to go like I can't live like this anymore. So something's got to give. So it woke me up and I walked away from everything. I walked away from drinking, all drugs, like quit it all. And quit my intense New York City sales job and signed up for yoga teacher training. That was what came first. It just is. So for some of you, use my story. I'm not saying use my story, but like what was that for you? Was there a rock bottom? Was there like this kind of like you woke up one day and you were like, I will no longer tolerate that behavior. Done. You were fucking done. Right? Was it like a job you hated where you're like, I have to leave here or my soul will die? It's being sucked out of me in this moment. Right? Just giving you some examples. I'm going very intensely with these examples, but I gotta tell you, anyone who's been through a transformation, people aren't like walking through a freaking park picking flowers and being like, you know what, I'm ready for a transformation today. You know what I mean? A lot of us have been through tough stuff. This is the way I marketed this challenge. You've been through some shit. You've transformed. Now we gotta pick it apart in this call today and go like, were the stages I took? What were the steps I took to get there? So back to this one, what came first? I hope through the time I've given you just now, you've jotted some things down. Because where did you start? So that right there becomes module one. Um, Christine, I don't mean to call you out real quick, but remember we were talking about this the other day? What was your beginning? What was your, and I don't know if yours was, did you come off mute?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, great, great. What was yours? What was your start?
Being in a job that was literally sucking the soul life out of me. Yes.
Yes. And then what was your first, because we were laughing about like how different ours was, and everyone's gonna have a different one, but what was the first thing you started with?
Um, I would say the first sort of subtle thing was going back to yoga on a regular basis,
Mhm.
followed by a Tony Robbins event.
That's right. That's right. Right. Thank you. I'm so glad you
Mhm.
came off mute. Right.
Yep.
Boom. What was that? A shift in consciousness, an awakening for you, an aha moment? Like, what was that like when you went to that and you were like, what is this?
I'll try to be concise. Yeah, like it's possible to think a different way about myself.
Hmm. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. That was very concise. Okay. So I want you guys, if you want, write in yours. What was yours? Because everyone loves to talk about their awakening. If you want to get light workers talking in a room, just like ask them, scream out to the room, what was the year you had your awakening? And everyone's like, 2016, 2012. Okay. So then ask. So step two is what came next, right? So Christine's was soul sucking job. Something's got to shift. I'm going to die if I stay here. Like, this will not be good. To like, okay, I need to take care of myself. Oh, you know what? I need to go to yoga. And then something in her path came, boom, Tony Robbins. And listen, you can love or hate the guy and any other big name and Oprah and Gabby Bernstein and Rebecca Campbell, blah, 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 all these big names. Love or hate them, right? But they were here for millions of people's shifts and awakenings. Joe Dispenza, same thing. Like some people love Joe Dispenza, shit on him, whatever. At that level, you have so many people on either side of that spectrum, right? It doesn't matter. They're here for millions of people. I'm not saying any of us need to go there, will go there, have to go there. We don't. But a lot of those people offered, souls that were ready the ability to have an aha moment, have an awakening, have a shift, like in an event, in a weekend. And Christine, I bet that was pre-COVID. So you were like in space with them and like, dude, that's like all these people that get like thousands of people together in a room for these shifts. Oh, so good. Okay. Ashley said, my papa died in 2012. Loss, grief, spiritual awakening. Also, my first death doula experience. Yeah, you're here for some deep stuff, girl. You were in the right place. And then Ashley said, got trained in Reiki from there. Boom. Another great example. Thank you guys for your examples on this. This is that is a very popular path for people. They go right into a healing experience and certification. It's like pretty instant, or maybe it happens within days, maybe it's happening within weeks. And I'm sure it came into your peripheral and it came into your field, and you were like, I have to do this thing. Oh my God, I don't know why. I've never done this. I've never put my hands on people before. Da, da, da. I've got to do this thing. Perfect example. So I want you guys to be writing all these steps out. Now you may be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're talking her dad died, then you're talking she got razor. Like, is that what she's teaching people? No. But Ashley, real quick, can you come off mute because the people who are listening now don't know what we talked about in the Q&A yesterday. Can you quickly just share about how you thought it was going to be this, but then it ended up being this?
Yeah, so I've been doing birth work for going on 6 years, and that's pretty much been the main focus of my studies. And so when I started this class, I was like, okay, this is going to give me the foundation I need to like actually create my own course in regards to like being prepared for birth or mother baby diet or baby physiological care. But then with your questions, when I started writing it all out, the questions you asked actually pointed me in the direction of because you were talking about the patterns in your life, like what is a consistent pattern in your life, and that's been loss and grief through the breaking of my family unit. So and it came to me I woke up at midnight last night, Jayme, in bed, and realized that I don't even exactly know if my class is supposed to be around loss and grief. It's actually the experiences and the transformation I went through losing my family to help families stay together.
Oof. Yes.
Like, how do we create a new culture where
Mm,
the family constellation is staying united for these children so we can exit the patterns
mm.
of, like, how many of us come from broken families? Like, that needs to stop. So,
Oof. This is what I'm fucking here for. Oh, thank you for sharing. So what you're sharing now ties into all of that, and I love how you said you had this at midnight. It's like the pieces are just going to keep dropping in, guys. And I'm just reminding you all, like what we talked about yesterday, what we talked about today and Friday. It's not Bible. Like it's just like your spirit and your soul giving you little breadcrumbs, and you're piecing it together, and it will become more clear over the days. Okay, I promise you. So thank you, ladies, for these perfect examples. Okay, so then the second part was what came next, and this is, I don't remember, I don't think I said this yet, but what realization did you have? What shift occurred? Or what skill like placed itself in front of you? I'll say it again. What realization did you have? What shift? What skill? And that all can become, depending on how that looks for you. Again, you're gonna brainstorm with this. It's gonna come in on your showers and your walks, right? But that becomes module 2. And you keep going until you reach the outcome. Most programs naturally fall into a 3 to 5 course stage program. Not 12, not 27, okay? 3 to 5. Simplicity creates power. So I'm going to actually go into 2 different frameworks for you here. Again, they're just ideas to get you going. If your own comes out, great. If you found another one, great. If you want to mix and match these, great. But here's a structure you can borrow if you're stuck, or struck with an idea. Okay, the first one is going to go like this. Module 1 is awareness. And this is always going to be when you have to call out the problem. You have to identify the issue, right? In anything that you do. Let's just say I'm talking about my idea incubator. I'm about to head into idea incubator season. The awareness that we talk about in that first call is that you've got a million ideas. You have a million things you want to do. Ideas come to you all the time, but you're not doing anything with them. They're all sitting up in your notebook. They're all sitting up in your head, literally bobbling around. I don't even know if that's a word. You do nothing with them. Or maybe you're the person that then talks about the idea, talks about it. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to do this thing. But then nothing happens. It's getting stuck there. I teach people where it's getting stuck in their body, right? And I'm telling people that they can actually take those things down deeper into their heart, because something really specific happens when you go from receiving it in the crown to visioning it with people to speaking about it and then to actually feeling it, right? So I teach that in Idea Incubator. Awareness is the first bit. I also use all that for my marketing, that process, because people go, oh shit, that's me. God, she's like calling it out, right? Awareness is one. So you can do this in a few different ways. Again, I don't want to get too detailed here for you. I don't want to get in the weeds with you guys. You're going to be in the weeds enough. But module 1 would be awareness. First step for you would be like, what's the awareness I went through? And then you can pivot it to your audience, because we know your audience. And even if you're just thinking about you from that version ago, or you can think about the thousands of women around the country, the thousands of women around the planet. And most people aren't ready to hear millions, right? Like we're like creating something for millions of people might be like way too much. So if you need to do like, do you know, are there 100 women on the planet who need help with this? Do you just want to think of a dozen women who need this? Figure out what number you can hold and handle. But step 1 would be awareness. Module 2 is the foundation. Okay, what's the foundation of your process? What's the foundation of your journey? I know there's a bunch of different situations, like of who's in here, who's showing up, who's live, who's going to be listening to this in the future. You've got to get clear about what would your foundation of your process be, right? And the modules. Remember, the modules aren't the lessons. This is just the structure. So when I start to talk about foundation, I'll keep going with the idea incubator. Foundation is then pretty much letting people know then what the process is. Hey, I'm going to teach you how I use the manifestation current on the planet that's available to all beings, all vertical beings on the planet, and anyone who's on the planet. And we're going to go through the chakras. So we're going to use the manifestation current and we're going to go through the chakras and see where you're blocked. And I'm going to tell you the top blocks you're probably feeling in that process. And this is why you're blocked. And this is why nothing's coming out of you. Right. So I'm going to let people know the foundation and where they're at. And then I can bring them through the process because step 3, module 3 is then application. Great. How are we going to do that? In the idea incubator, it's more than 3 or 5. There's only a few modules, but I have 9 lessons total. For that, the application, it's 9 because I'm giving them the setup, talking about what this is about, letting them have a whole call about it. And then we start going through all the chakras. And then the 9th is how to literally start back and come back to divinity point, come back to 0 point with the creation and let another one happen. So module 3 for me, that's my whole application. Module 4 is integration. This is huge. Most people just drop people the F off. You know what I mean? They're not giving them any time to integrate. So my integration periods is I like talk about as we're ending a lot of my courses, I have a whole call of like what comes next, what's after, how do we integrate, right? I map my integration when I do really intense stuff with people. I have to have integration stuff at the end of every call because my integration work with some people when they're doing it live with me is a whole week in between. And I don't want people going off and losing their minds or getting left behind or being like cracked open in the middle of a process and then they feel they can't show up or come. I let people come in even if they haven't been through the whole process. Sometimes you just need to be in the space with people. So I'm really big about integration. Okay. But yours may come at the end of your process. Module 5 could then be expansion. Again, this is all just an idea for you. You may not like this method at all. Maybe you like the second one I'm going to give you. But write these down so you can see the difference between them. So that module 5 being expansion, with the idea incubator, with everything, or pretty much everything I've done, I talk about like, what's next? What would be the next process? What's the next step for you? What would this look like to get behind this? What's your next step to take with me? Whatever. Okay, here's another one. So let's start over. Module 1, the problem. What is the problem that they are facing? What is the problem that you have the answer to? What is the problem that you are resolving? What's the problem? And this is really going to help you get clear about marketing and selling and advertising this stuff. Module 2, the shift. What happened? What shifted? What are you here helping them with? What's the shift that's available for them? Right? Like, for example, I was very clear in this. I used in my marketing for the Soul to Syllabus program that I wanted you to have. I was opening up space for you to have an identity shift within these 3 days. Within 3 days, I am guaranteeing that you are going to have aha moments, that you are going to realize like, oh, I am actually well equipped to teach this. It's an identity shift to go from I'm not worthy enough, I don't know what I'm teaching, to oh shit, I've got a few things in me. That's an identity shift, right? I was guaranteeing that. So the shift. Module 3, the tools. This would be a fun one for a lot of you. I use this, I got certified in this, I got certified in that, right? And that has to do with like the process too. Module 4, the implementation, right? The actual implementation. What does this look like? This would be more time. Going over the tools would be quick, but the implementation, that module would be way thicker, maybe way longer. And then module 5 is the embodiment of that. What are they stepping away as? Who are they stepping away as they are a new person embodied in themselves a little bit more? What does that look like in this process? So you don't need to reinvent structure. You need to organize your lived process. Now, again, if you love Chatty, if you want to go find other templates online, go for it. But these are 2 that you can play with today. You could also pick and pull which ones you really like, but I think they're very clear. So I want to address overwhelm because at this point you may be like, whoa, what did I just get into? So if you're thinking that, what did I just get into? Or, oh, but I know so much, you might be like, so much is trying to come through your pipeline right now. You're like, wait, I could do that for this one. Wait, that would make sense for this one, right? Good. That means you're experienced. Okay. So, first of all, good. You've got a lot of ideas or you've got a lot of things you could help with, and you're really being called. Phenomenal. That's why we're here. Oh, this little thing is going to drive me nuts in the camera. Yesterday it was a sparkle. Today it's some fluff. But remember, your job is not, you're not here to prove how much you know. Okay. That's not the job here. Your job is to move someone from A to B. Okay. If something doesn't directly support that movement, it doesn't belong in the program. Okay. I'm going to say that again. If something doesn't directly support the movement of shifting someone from A to B, it doesn't belong in the program. Save it for another offer. You guys all have the notebooks. Write a bunch of ideas out that you have in the notebook. What I like to do is promise the idea, the creation, that I will come back to it. That I will come back to it, we will work through it, and I promise I will pull you up when the time is right. And then I believe the idea stays with you because you've, made a commitment to it. You've promised it that you're going to pull it out when the time is right. Let's get into exercise 2, which is breaking the modules down into lessons. Okay? So now we're going to take module 1, and I want you to ask, what does someone need to understand before they can move to module 2? What does someone need to understand before they can move to module 2? So let's take my idea incubator for an example. I want them to know, like, what do I need them to know? What do I want them to know? It's funny because I made this like a year ago, you know what I mean? But now I'm creating the certification process for it this year. So I'm certifying people in this. So even like I'm gonna have teacher trainers available for this. I want people to know a few things they were taking away is that you are a divine creation on the planet, and it is your birthright to receive ideas from source. You are divine. These ideas are divine. They're coming to you because they feel that you are a vibrational match that could actually bring them to life on the planet. Also want them to understand that each of those ideas, your business ideas, your great ideas, your book ideas, whatever it is, they want to be made on the planet. They have their own unique blueprint. They have their own unique structure, their own frequency. And they're looking for someone who's a vibrational match to them to make them on the planet. So just right away, as I'm because this was like the whole first part of Idea Incubator as well. It's like really letting people know, like, wow, like this is needed, I'm needed, like it chose me. It's a boost of energy and confidence and value and worth. And I'm not yanking their chain. I wrote a fucking book about this. Like, like this is powerful work that people need to know. I hope to write a book for the Idea Incubator, but I need not get ahead of myself right now. It made it to the book, To Launch Your Light. It could be its own book though, and it probably will be. Um, and then I also need them to know very clearly that only one of these things can be worked with at a time. So many people have a block to this, and listen, manifesting generators in here, wink, wink, I fucking get you. But you guys can give a lot of energy, a great amount of energy to something at a time. You just have no problem picking up when you're done with it and bouncing and hopping to the next idea. And people can't keep up with you, right? But, those are things I want them to know, that if you're gonna move through with an idea in the same way I'm saying through this, if you're gonna choose a course, choose one, follow it through this entire process, and let's get it from what I say, dream to done, before we start a whole nother one. Now, there is the divine correction here, the divine alignment. Like, let's say you're starting on one and then all of a sudden your spirit comes over and it's like, boom, no, we're doing this. I always listen when that happens. I always listen to my spirit when that happens. But pay attention if you're like, wait, I want to work on this. Wait, I want to work on this. Okay. Know the difference between your ego and your spirit calling. Okay. So what does someone need to understand before they can move to module 2? So I hope that was like a good example of like the things I needed people to know. And I'm not even saying all of it, it's just what's coming off the top of my head before they can move into the actual process. These become your lessons. So each lesson could look like this: teach one idea, introduce one tool, and guide one shift. I'm going to say it again: teach one idea, introduce one tool, guide one shift. Not 14 things all at once. If you can teach it in 10 minutes, 30 minutes, clearly it's strong. You are building clarity, not complexity. And the same reason why I don't need to fill these calls with fluff to make them be 90 minutes. I need to get you this information. I need to get you these templates. I need to guide you through this process, and then you need to go do the work. Same thing with your people. You're probably not necessarily hand holding them through the entire process, and you sure as shit aren't doing it for them. I am not doing this for y'all. You have to do it. But I will give you phenomenal journeys, steps, templates, and the reasons why we're here to do this. So the teach one idea, introduce one tool, guide one shift. My example of this for the idea incubator is then I take them, the majority of my stuff is done over the 9 modules. I take them per one chakra at a time, descending down the manifestation current. We talk about the main blocks expressed there, the way it gets stuck, what you can do about it, the tools to help you through it, and to do that shift, and then telling them you need to wait a whole week before you watch the next one or whatever. So I'll just say it again one more time. Teach one idea, introduce one tool, guide one shift. Okay? So here's an important shift for people, and I want you to do that for all your modules. Could you break this down per module? I would say it's as simple as that. The teach one idea, all that, under each of the modules that you have. And again, you're going to wiggle room with it, but that's how you can be breaking down your lessons. So an important shift here is this is where most people freeze. They think, I need slides, I need graphics, I need data, I need professional recording equipment. No, you don't. What you need is clarity, structure, and willingness. Because you can simply record on Zoom like I'm doing right now. I've been using Zoom since 2016, before there was even the huge boom of it in 2020. I was using this when it was a baby software back in the day. I'm still using it 11 years later, 10 years later, right? You could just record on your laptop. You can record on your phone. You can get a simple mic. Guys, I paid for a mic. That was probably $100 mic and headphone set, and maybe I got it on sale for like $50, $60 or something. Have I plugged it in months? No, have not. Maybe since last summer, almost a year. I don't freaking know. Here we are. Here we are. Now, there are perfectionists in here. There are people who absolutely want to have the best sound available. But if that's going to stop you from getting your work out, you're literally doing a disservice to the people who need your work right now. So you got to get clear on like, is this something I actually need, or is this just a block that's keeping me and hindering me from what I'm here to do? Your students care more about the clarity you provide than the production value, okay? Especially in your first round. That's another thing. This is your first round. Let it be a draft. Just get it out of you. Just get it out of you and done. You know, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's not winning prizes, or maybe it is, or it probably won't be though, right? You can always add on, you can rewrite, re-record, do whatever you need to. But just move through, follow through with this. Okay, let's go into the next exercise. Decide your format. Now we can start to ask ourselves like, okay, is this going to be best taught as a live 5-week program? I'm just going to give you very specific examples and you figure out in your body right now if it's a yes or a no. A self-paced mini course, this would be already recorded. This would be sitting there and available for someone. A weekend workshop, 2 days live with you for 8-hour days. Would this be a hybrid model? Watch this entire thing all week from Monday through Friday. Join me on Saturday for X, Y, and Z. Do you want it? A big one is, do you want it to be live because you like the energy of people in your stuff, in your work, and it feeds the way you teach or it helps the course? Like having you guys live on here with me, you can already see how helpful it's been to have real women with real life stuff as examples. Or are you someone who's like, oh my God, I cannot with the live audience. I have to record quietly in my office with headphones on. Yeah, there's no judgment here. You need to choose what works best for you. Okay. There is no right answer. There is only what feels aligned with your life right now. Okay. Start where you are. You can always expand later. So I want you to pause here and look at what you've done. You now have a transformation, a target student or a target audience, 3 to 5 modules, a lesson breakdown, and a delivery format idea. You don't just have an idea anymore. You have a skeleton of a real program. That is powerful. Okay. So we're wrapping up here for the education part of today. Now, I'm not saying with this little list I gave you that you have all these things done. You now need to go do it. You now need to go play with it. How could you, when we're just reverse engineering, right? Look at the modules I gave you. Choose which one of those module types you like. Step 1. Great. Now you've got one of those. Then you need to sit there and go, what was my process in each of these moments? From the teachers I had, to the tools I used, to the things I signed up for, to the boundaries I set, to the behaviors I changed, to the way I became a different person, to the way, all of it. Start to fill it out. Do it for you first, not for your client or audience. We have to get clear about your process because it's the whole point. It's the meat of this entire experience. Now, I'm not saying everyone has to follow your thing. What we're doing is we're creating a solution to a problem people have on the planet right now. That is business in a nutshell. Solutions to problems in the marketplace. Material answers to needs in the marketplace, right? Something that answers wants and needs in a marketplace. That's what business is. So this is what you're doing. Here's another thing, another tip. You're going to want it to be for everyone. It can't be. If you try to serve everyone, you will end up serving no one. You got to get clear about really specific our audience target audiences who need this specifically, because you're going to be speaking to that specific problem. You're basically calling them forward, right? And saying, I've got a solution to that thing that you're struggling with now. That is marketing. That's what it is. Okay. So you got to stick with your transformation. What was the process? What did you go through? Okay. Another good example of this is like in my book for Launch Your Light. I don't kick off with business. Again, it's called Launch Your Light, the subtitle, working subtitle right now. Me and my editor, I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be, but I want it to be. Um, I have freedom. I have freedom of expression. I get to choose. I have full rights on my book because I'm self-publishing. I just want to make this difference. If you traditionally publish, you don't. They get to choose what they want to, the title of the book to be, the subtitle of the book to be, the cover, all of that. I have creative freedom and full rights, but I am obviously open to seeing what my editor says and talking about what would make the most impact out there. But anywho, side note, the subtitle right now is The Next Era of Soul-Led Business, Income, and Impact, right? So I didn't start at let's run a business. I started at soul purpose, right? That's the big kicker for all of it, and for people to right away see that they have soul purpose too, because that's what everyone wants to know. I just did a reel the other day, yesterday, and I was like, how many people are like questioning what's happening in the world and what's going on? And I've been screaming from the rooftops for years that soul purpose is the way. You want to clear up the distortion on the planet, get behind your soul purpose. You want people to live in peace, get behind your soul purpose. How many people are just miserable in their life? They have no hope. They have no idea of why they're on the planet. Like I believe we all have soul purpose. That has to kick off the book. Then I don't go into business right after that. Then I go into Earth classrooms and I break down what I consider to be Earth classrooms, training grounds, understanding and stepping into your expertise. A whole chapter is on that. And then we don't go into business right away. But what I do at chapter 3, I'm pretty sure it's chapter 3 that goes into connect to the spirit of your business. Oh, wait, no, it's not, because we had a channel. The first one is helping people understand that they are a channel on the planet, right? So I had to help them open up. So now, they are like, okay, I do have soul purpose. And they're like, holy shit, everything that I've done in life comes back to the soul purpose. What is she on to? And then 3 go, oh my God, wait, I'm this powerful being on the planet. I'm this bridge between heaven and earth, and I can channel and I'm a channel. Then chapter 4 goes into connect to the spirit of your business. The whole thing has a freaking process. I don't get into even the baby steps of business, or I think it's called like the beginnings of business, into like maybe chapter 5, 6, or 7 or something like that. Okay. So it all has a process. I want you to go back and look at that for yourself. What is your process? All right. I hope that's enough tips, but you've got to go off and play with this and plug and play and fill it in yourself. So, setting you up for tomorrow, for day 3, tomorrow is where we bring it into reality. We'll decide, where does this live? How do you host it? What do you charge? Everyone freaks out about the money bit. How do you launch it? My favorite thing. And how do you bring in your first students? Great questions, right? Because clarity without action is just a beautiful idea, and loads of beautiful people have loads of beautiful ideas, and no one's doing anything with it. So I help you go from dream to done. We are not just building ideas, we are building leadership. Okay. Um, I hope at this point today in day 2, you feel a bit more empowered, maybe a bit more structured. You're like, okay, this is what I needed. This is what I needed, Jayme. Thank you. Maybe you feel more calmer. Maybe you feel more capable. Maybe you feel closer to being a teacher. If you are like, this is going way too fast, please know I will be announcing something tomorrow. I can't announce it now because it's not out alive in the world tomorrow, but I'm going to announce it tomorrow, where we will be going way deeper into this process for you. Okay. And if you're already knowing you want to be in the school, just email me back with wherever you're getting these emails, just email me back and say you're in for the school, or if you want private sessions with me. I also have a mastermind that is for women who are already established in their businesses and they're taking it to the next level. It's called the Take It to the Next Level Mastermind. And they are working on a myriad of different projects that are helping elevate them and their businesses to the next level. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Go off in the world. Good luck with the 12 a.m. downloads and your showers and your walks. I love you guys so much. Whoever, I'm going to stop this recording. Whoever would like to stay on for the Q&A, I'd love to hear from a few of you what came up for you or where you're struggling today. Also, if you want the recordings of the Q&A, yesterday's was 40 minutes long. I don't know how long today's will be. They're all in the school library already. Okay. I will see you guys tomorrow, and Q&A ladies, you can stay on. See you then.